Marc MacNicol on the Fisch Bowl. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I am very excited to hear a little bit more about Dreaded Light and what is all going to be involved with getting that film made.
Okay, so do you want to ask me a specific question, or you want me just to kind of tell you where we're at just now, how we got here?
About the project, where you're at, what it's about, and I guess where it's going.
Okay, so so I've been writing full time for about 7 years now, and I started off with novels, and then I moved into theatre. So my background, certainly, for the first 5 years was novels and theatre. Writing, directing, and producing theatre. A couple of years back, I did a master's degree in writing for screen in Glasgow, my hometown, and that would be, pretty much the point at which my focus shifted away from novels and theatre over to screen. So after my master's degree, for the last couple of years, I've really been focused on writing scripts, and my agent has had good success with actually managing to get a couple of those scripts placed with producers, but that's a long process, and those producers are in the process of trying to raise finance through the traditional model, so to speak. So I decided that, while those projects were going through that process, I was going to do something on a smaller scale myself. I decided that I was going to write, direct, and produce a feature film, and I was going to do it on, I suppose, what would be described as a micro budget. So my target in terms of raising finance is £150,000. And there's a scheme in the UK called Seed Enterprise Investment Scheme, which was set up by the UK government, designed to give flagging industries such as independent film a boost. And if you apply and are accepted into the scheme, then your investors can get 50% refund on their investment, regardless of whether the film makes a profit or not. So by combining that SEIS refund with the film tax refund, I have been able to offer UK investors a 70% refund on any investment. So obviously that's a sexy proposition for anyone, because if effectively it's, it would be the equivalent of going to a bookmaker. It would be the equivalent of me taking you to a bookmaker with $100, giving you $100 to place a bet and saying to you that no matter the outcome of the bet, you're going to get $70 back. So I've had good success. I think at the moment we have sold equity, and so one of the criteria for the SEIS scheme is that you set up a company, and the sole purpose of that company is to produce and distribute the film. So the investors are effectively buying shares in that company. 150,000 shares at £1 per share, and at the moment we have sold 60,000 shares.
Wow.
So we're almost halfway there to the target, which is great. So that's kind of where we're at on the financial side of things. So anyone who is listening to this, who is looking for an investment opportunity, they can have a look at the intro video on marcnicol.com, and there is a request more info button on the website, and Um, we will send them an investor outline which goes into more detail in terms of the business side of things, and also the creative side of things, the plot and the characters and the story and whatnot. So that's the kind of business side. In terms of the creative side, did you see the intro video on my website?
I did, and I have to say, I've always been very fascinated with spirits and psychics and mediums of that sort, and hearing basically the story you told in the intro video was very interesting. And I always thought, because my own screenwriting mind tends to go to the supernatural, the horror, sci-fi aspects and worlds of screenwriting, and I've always had like a number of projects rattling around in my head of dealing with spirits and stuff like that. But I have to say that I'm very excited to hear more about the plot for Dreaded Light, especially with the intro video that you talked a little bit about it.
Yeah, so for me, it's a very personal project because, as anyone who has seen the intro video on the website will see, my mum went to a meet. Or no, in fact, she didn't go to a meeting. My mum actually worked in a chip shop, and what do you guys call chip shops? Do you have chip shops? Do you even know what a chip shop is?
I don't.
Right, so you've heard of, fish and chips?
Yes.
Right, so fish and chips is like a big UK kind of takeaway meal. So, like in the US, you've got loads of kind of, I don't know, like tacos and, various nationality kind of takeaways. You've got Subways, you've got McDonald's. We've got a lot of them as well, but really popular in the UK is fish and chips, so we have fish and chip shops. So my mum worked in a fish and chip shop, and it was a customer who she'd never met before in her life, who said to her, I've got a message for you from your oldest. And my mum said, well, no, because Marc's my oldest and he's still with us. And this customer said, well, first of all, do you mind me actually giving you a message? Is it okay? So she asked permission. My mum said yes. And then the medium said, well, the message is from Angela. Now, this is a complete stranger. And there was no way that she could have known that my mum, the year before I was born, she had a baby girl called Angela. In fact, my mum nearly didn't make it to the hospital because the actual process of giving birth to Angela was problematic. My mum was in a coma for 10 days. She had 2 blood transfusions. She almost died. And she actually, she went into hospital. She woke up 10 days later and she was told by my dad and my grandparents that she had a baby girl, but that it was, not only was it dead, but it was buried. So, very, very traumatic experience for my mum. The medium told my mum that the message, among other things, there was a message for me, and she knew my name. She said, so there's a message from Angela for Marc. She wants Marc to know that he's got a big sister in the spirit world, and she's always with him. She's his guardian angel. Now, that was when I was 15, I've told that story over the years to friends and family, and it's always a story that people, when I tell that story to people over the years, quite often people talk about the hairs in the back of their neck standing up. So it had been kind of kicking about in my mind, the idea of doing something with that. So I decided that I would. Obviously, the first thing I did was ask my mum's permission. I asked my mum if she was okay with me doing something, and she said she was. I explained to her that, it would be a feature film. It would be fictional, so I would be using her experience and my experience as inspiration. Um, I would be doing certain things to put distance between me and my mum and the subject matter. So, for example, one of the things that I've done is it's a father and daughter rather than a mother and son. So, the two sets. Um, and another thing that I decided quite early on that I was going to do, which I didn't have to do, but it just felt like the right thing to do, and that was, Angela has been nothing but a source of comfort for me. The idea of me having a big sister in the spirit world, a guardian angel looking out for me, I love that idea. So I've had nothing but positivity in terms of how I feel about that idea. So I decided that in the film, I was going to do it in such a way that the spirit would be not positive. It would be negative. It would be angry. It would be pissed off. It would be it would be. I mean, I don't like to use the word evil. It would be definitely looking to do some damage, cause some disruption.
Right.
And one of the reasons I decided to do that was because it's fictional, and I wanted to put distance between, my story and my mum's story and the actual subject matter. And I think it's really interesting when you look. If you were to speak to, writers, directors, actors, novelists, playwrights, just any creative types about how they go about their business and what they use for inspiration, I think everything comes from somewhere. So obviously, when I made the decision that the spirit was going to be a disruptive one, then we're moving into the realm of horror, and that was interesting because I, there's part of me feels that I shouldn't. Especially on a platform like yours, there's part of me feels that I shouldn't even necessarily be saying this, but hey, it's the truth, I I would not consider myself to be a fan of horror. Uh, like growing up, my relationship with film, uh, in terms of the genres, I would say I have not had I have not had a relationship with horror, um, and I think one of the reasons for that is because um, if you believe in the continuation of spirit after physical death, and you're watching something like, I don't know, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, then I think you're more prone to shitting yourself and having nightmares and it being a generally fucking unpleasant experience if you pardon my French. So over the years, if I'm being honest, I've avoided horror films just purely because that particular subgenre. I mean, I'm okay with zombies and slasher movies and stuff like that, but the particular subgenre of supernatural slash paranormal has been one that I have personally struggled with, just because I find them unpleasant because they scare me.
Well,
So
I can definitely agree with you there because Poltergeist, for instance, written by Steven Spielberg and directed by Toby Hooper, one of the classic movies dealing with the terrifying circumstances of paranormal activity. I mean that movie still holds up to this day as being truly one of the most terrifying horror films ever made because of that matter. Because we don't know what comes after death. We only know that once we die, and the fact that we have some idea that there's energy out there, in all of us that doesn't die. It only transfers itself and moves on and becomes something else, that we only are starting to have like a glimpse of, of an idea of what that could be. But I love, vampires. I love werewolves. I love zombies. Slasher movies. They're great, but there is just
Mm-hmm.
something about the paranormal that, because it's real, it's a
Mm-hmm.
real aspect that we actually do not know anything about, and never, I think, will, unless we move on into that realm.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're all going to find out eventually. Each
Right.
of us will find out, you know. Um, but it's interesting you should say that it's real because I've been doing a lot of research into spiritualism as part of this, as part of this project. Um, I've been going to, so in the UK there is an organisation called the Spiritualist National Union, and they have, I think, in the region of 3 cities in the UK. I mean, spiritualism is a bona fide religion, and when you go to a spiritualist service, uh, it's very similar. I mean, I was brought up in a Christian environment. My grandfather was a pastor, so I was brought up all through my childhood going to church, 2 or 3 times a week. Um, and spiritualist services are very, very similar to, you know, Baptist or Methodist or evangelical services. The only difference is at the end of a spiritualist service, normally there's a demonstration by a medium from the platform. Uh, Everything else in terms of prayer and hymns and sermons are very, very similar. So I've been attending a lot of spiritualist services. I've been speaking to just as many people as will speak to me about their own personal, experiences. And I've also been having a lot of private readings done with mediums. And for me to be getting messages from deceased friends and relatives who this person's a complete stranger to me. I book these readings under false names, so they don't even know who I am, and I'm getting, deceased friends and relatives where they're giving me their names, they're talking about, shared memories and events. One of them even described one of my fridge magnets in the house, you know. But in addition to the research that I've been doing into spiritualism, one of the other things that I've been doing is speaking to anyone who I can about their relationship with horror. Because I'm interested, the fact that I am such a scaredy cat when it comes to specifically that subgenre of horror, the paranormal. Now, I can tell you, as we just discussed, I can certainly talk about the reasons why I'm a scaredy cat with that subgenre. And it's because, certainly since that experience when I was 15, when my mum told me what that medium said about Angela, since then I have been a believer in the continuation of spirit. So when I'm watching films about the spirit world, because I believe in the spirit world, then it makes them real. So for you, when you just said there that they are real, one of the things that I've discovered in my kind of discussions with people about their relationship with that specific subgenre, now, I'm sure some of your listeners will correct me here because this is a sweeping generalisation, but a lot of people that I've spoken to who struggle with the paranormal subgenre are people who do believe in the continuation of spirit, or are certainly open to the idea of the continuation of spirit. The people I've spoken to who, look forward to the next Blair Witch film, or go along to Lights Out, and it's fun, and that type of thing, or watch The Exorcist and it's a laugh. Those types of people, in my experience, tend to be people who do not believe in the continuation of spirit. So it's almost like they don't have a lot of skin in the game. because they're sitting down in their seat on the basis that they do not believe in the continuation of spirit, then that subgenre is less horrific for them, less frightening for them. Another interesting thing that has come out of my research is the way in which spiritualists have a very negative relationship with horror. Because when you talk to spiritualists about the world of spirit, they describe it as being a place of love, and they describe spirits coming back as being spirits who are conveying messages of love. The concept of evil spirits coming back from the spirit world is something that is problematic for spiritualists, and it's one of the reasons why. I actually met. I met someone senior in the from the Spiritualist National Union, and he was very, very generous with his time and very helpful, and has continued to be helpful and made himself available. And I think one of the reasons why he's done that is because he sees that I'm trying to do something authentic. And in his opinion, and in the opinion of the vast majority of spiritualists, the paranormal subgenre of horror is total bullshit. And not only is it total bullshit, but it's offensive. So when the constant portrayal of spirit as demons and various evil apparitions is something that spirits don't like, because that's just not their experience of the world of spirit. So it's a tricky one, because you can see why storytellers tell scary stories about evil spirits. We've been doing it, we've been doing it for millennia, round the fire, round the campfire type thing. We were probably doing it before we had the ability to write on paper. We were telling scary stories, but as far as spiritualists are concerned, that is not accurate. That is not authentic. So one of my challenges is to how do I actually tell how do I tell a story in the paranormal subgenre of horror in a way that is authentic, and that is a challenge which I am up for, and I'm looking forward to the challenge.
I'm definitely excited to see Dreaded Light when it's finished and when it comes out. And what you just said, I think, is actually very accurate. Um, in my opinion, because I happen to be Jewish, and in Judaism, there's all sorts of different viewpoints on spirits and reincarnation and um, stuff like that. And my dad has had a number of, uh, you know, paranormal uh, instances in his life where he's had interactions with ghosts and family member spirits, and he actually was a nurse for a period of time. And during his time as a nurse and being in hospitals and certain private duty jobs, he's had even more paranormal experiences. And like one of our favorite things to do would watch the show Ghost Hunters, and he loved that show, and I like that show so much because they go into trying to um, disprove if a place is haunted versus if trying to prove that it is, and in all the techniques that they've used with um, recording devices and infrared and stuff like that. It's only added to what my dad has experienced. Draining of the battery when a spirit is near. Um, absorbing electronic devices and all that. And everything that you basically said is what my dad and me view as a fact of life, basically, with in terms of with the way the spirit world works, at least in our interpretation.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, this. I'm not making a documentary. I'm making a fictional feature film. So something that I have to be really sensitive about and really cautious with is this is not a documentary for spiritualism, and I'm not like kind of putting myself out there as a poster boy for spiritualism. If the audience get the impression that they are in any way being preached to or patronised, then turn them off, because it would turn me off. It would turn most people off. So what I need to do, I mean, I think it's totally appropriate that fictional feature films should be thought provoking and generate discussion and debate, that type of thing. But if I try and my beliefs or opinions using this film as a vehicle to do so, then the game's over before we even start. And at the end of the day, when it comes to any story in any medium, as storytellers, it is totally. I think it's totally inappropriate for us to tell people how to feel, tell people what to think. But I think it is totally appropriate for us to, for us to tell people how we think. So I am totally entitled to my opinions. What I don't think I'm entitled to do is to try and force my opinions on other people. So it's a really complex project in that respect, for me to try and balance all of these things, for not preach to people, not patronise people, try and be authentic, try not to be cliched. I mean, it pisses me off. I mean, I've been historically, I've not watched a lot of horror because I'm such a scaredy cat, but recently I've been forcing myself. Most of it I watch during the day with in daylight with the curtains open and make it as stress free as possible. But it pisses me off, like the cat jumping out the cupboard, that kind of shit.
Right.
That's just not my cup. That's just not my cup of tea. I think that, personally speaking, I have been more influenced by Asian horror than by Western horror, if I am honest. I think that Asian horror is something that really strikes a balance between the priorities and the objectives that we have in terms of satisfying the audience, but also self-expression and exploring the various components that go together to build a film, all the different departments that come together in order to build a film. So I'm really excited, and I think that if this was a traditional horror film, like in the multi-million pound budget bracket, then I wouldn't even be having this conversation with people, because it just wouldn't be possible, because the commercial realities would be such that the things that we are talking about would be seen by the accountants and the execs as just too risky.
Right.
And on a micro budget project where where the budget's 150k, you can take risks. You can take the type of risks that you couldn't take on a $1 million or $5 million or $20 million budget.
Definitely. I just want to respond to something you just mentioned in terms of Asian horror versus Western horror. Um, in my own personal opinion, because my listeners have listened to my show and know that horror and sci-fi are probably my two biggest and most proud genres that I love. But I have to say that pretty much as of like the 2000s, Western horror has kind of sunk to a low for the past, almost a little over 10 years. And Asian horror has really picked up. Same with Australian and UK horror. And I really like Asian horror films because they're tapping into something that, I feel like Western horror films have forgotten about, which is, legends surrounding their own culture. Um, there's so many legends out there that are, from, Eastern European lore to Native American lore to Greek lore, to there's so many just, awesome ideas that, people as screenwriters and writers in general can, use as source material that, I feel like American cinema, the last almost 15 years has just kind of strayed away from. But I also think that they're starting to, get back into it because they've basically been making movies like it's, McDonald's. Um, like they're more focused on what the what they're going to make back versus what stories they're willing to tell. And that can be seen with, the last almost 20 years of comic book movies nonstop, that they've just been pumping out. And, as much as I love Star Wars, they're now, I think, trying to do it with that. And, Rogue One looks awesome. I loved episode 7. I'm very excited for episode 8, but we need to go back to the art form of storytelling and not be so much focused on what we're going to make back. It's we need to be focused on the stories that we're trying to tell.
Yeah, and I think that's 100% accurate, and I think it totally applies to this project because I'm not going to bullshit anyone. Because you guys would sniff me out in a heartbeat if I came on here and tried to pretend to be an expert, a PhD in horror. That would be completely pointless. I'm being honest with people, and I'm saying that I growing up. I've been going to the cinema all my life. I have had a love affair with the cinema and television, both the big screen and the small screen. For me, have been more important to me than both novels and theatre. All through my life, even before I got into writing professionally. But it wasn't horror. It wasn't horror that I went to see. It was. It was mainly probably dramas and thrillers for me, and comedies. But horror and sci-fi were two things that just weren't my cup of tea, if I'm being honest. And what's been interesting with this project is, I think one of the problems is too many people decide that they want to write a horror film or they want to direct a horror film. So that decision comes first, and then they go looking Whereas with me on this project, the story came first. So I decided I was going to tell a story that was inspired by my experience when I was a teenager with my mum, and that message that came from my dead sister, the sister who died a year before I was born. So I decided that I was going to tell a story using that as my inspiration, and then as that creative process starts to actually develop, and there's no doubt that it's different for everybody. But for me, as it was percolating, as the story was percolating in my head, it was revealed to me in a way that I don't think any of us know where this shit comes from. But it was revealed to me that the specific genre that I was going to the medium and the genre was going to be film, and it was going to be horror, and the subgenre was going to be paranormal. So the story came first, and then the decision to tell a horror story in film came second. So I think that kind of alludes to the point that you're making there. Yeah, I mean, there's no point me. You know what? I mean, since I started to really, overdose on horror, I've been watching as much horror as I can fit into my schedule, and I've been, going to spiritualist services and getting readings done and talking to people. So certainly over the last year or so, my knowledge of these areas has increased dramatically. But there's no point in me bullshitting you and coming on here and pretending to be a lifelong horror fan.
Hey, you know, I may love, horror and sci-fi, but I also love comedy, thrillers, dramas.
Yeah.
All of it, because, as a screenwriter and a writer of film, you need to just be a fan of everything. And just because horror and sci-fi are my favorite, I've talked to several people I've interviewed during the course of the show that are not in horror and sci-fi and are more focused in either action or drama or whatever it may be, comedy. And the point of the Fishbowl is to focus on all aspects of the film and entertainment industry, not just limited to horror, sci-fi, but more to focus on anything that falls under film and entertainment. So.
Sorry, carry on, mate.
That's all right. To talk about film with people that I'm a fan of, and to help the arts in general, that's more of what I'm trying to do. I
think one of the really exciting things about this project is the fact that I am doing it myself, because okay, I mean, I've got these other scripts that are through my agent or with producers, and the producers are looking for for finance, and obviously I am keeping my fingers crossed, and I hope that things go well on that side of things. But over here, on a small scale, the idea of writing, directing, and producing my own film on a micro budget is something that for me is very, very exciting, because if I can do it, then other people can do it.
Exactly.
And obviously, there's, at the end of the day, when this product when the film is completed and everybody gets the opportunity to see it, I hope. The most important thing to me is that not everybody. It would be unrealistic to expect that 10 out of 10 people who watch the film are going to love it. If I don't know, like if 4 or 5 of every 10 people who saw the film took something from it, enjoyed it, that would be great for me. If it provoked a little bit of discussion and debate round about the theme of spiritualism, that would be great for me. At the end of the day, the film either will or won't be a critical and or commercial success. But even if it's not a critical success and it's not a commercial success, and everybody who watches it hates it, it's still, when I see a film, when I see a film, in particular, a micro budget or a small scale film, when I see one, regardless of what I think of the film, I always 100% have total respect for the people behind it, because I know how difficult it is to actually, in the first instance, to even make the thing, and then secondly, to even have it seen by anyone. So, in terms of that, that filmmaking community, internationally, globally, I really feel like I'm part of something. And we've got a great network in the UK. There's a guy called Chris Jones who wrote the Guerrilla Filmmakers Handbook, and Chris Jones runs an event called the London Screenwriters Festival, and it's just massively successful in terms of hundreds of screenwriters from all over the world congregate together. And the guests who come in and just talk through the types of writers, directors, to agents and producers, etc., who they get along to run these seminars. So I've been to. I went last year. I didn't make it this year. But we've got this great international community of filmmakers who are kind of operating independently of the studios and the Netflixes and the Amazons and all of these types of organisations, to do important work, to make important films, and that in itself is very, very difficult. And then actually even finding an audience is very, very difficult. So for me, in addition to the ways that I am obviously excited by the project on the creative side of things, I'm also really, really excited by the project in terms of just the opportunity for me to pitch in and do my bit within this kind of international community, if that makes sense.
Definitely. Well, we are at about 44 minutes here, and I think that's a good place to stop. I wanted to ask you one last question, which is kind of like my closing question on the show, and that is, what are some of your favorite films?
Wow. That's a tough one, isn't it? Wow. Well, when I think of just films that I could watch over and over again, there's an Australian film. Geoffrey Rush won an Oscar for his portrayal of an Australian pianist called David Hepkoff. The film's called Shine. Have you seen that?
I have seen that. That's a great movie. I am a huge Geoffrey Rush fan. That guy is fantastic.
Right, so that's certainly, that would be up there for me. I mean, I can't, I've seen that film so many times. The horror side, as you know, I'm not bullshitting anybody. I've really only started kind of really watching horror, lots since I made the decision that I was going to be, I was going to be writing a horror. Now, there's one particular film that I think I mentioned earlier on that literally gave me nightmares, and it was The Exorcism of Emily Rose. And I found that film traumatic to watch, and it definitely did a job on me in terms of like scaring the bejesus out of me. Um, and there's another one particular Asian horror film where it will be obviously I'm not going. It's going to be as I recruit the team. This is a film that I'm going to be asking people to watch. When they come on board, and it's something that it's something to draw from in terms of inspiration. And the director is a guy called I think it's Takashi Miike.
Yes.
And the film Audition. Have you seen that film?
Yes. That guy is fantastic.
So for me,
he's made some really really disturbing Asian horror films. That guy's fantastic.
Yeah. So that film in particular is a film that I was just so impressed by. I mean, not only was it a great story, and the characters were brilliant, and I was really sucked into the world, but I don't know who the cinematographer was, but it was like a work of art, you know. And obviously the fact that the daughter in Dreaded Light suffers from a condition whereby she can't come into contact with daylight. So that's really exciting from a creative perspective, and I'm hoping that that's going to make the film particularly interesting to cinematographers. The fact that we're actually doing something very sexy with light because we're incorporating it into the story.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I am very excited to check out this film whenever it comes out in theaters, or any form of getting a way to view it. I am excited to check it out. Of course, paying my portion. Uh, I am a firm believer of when it comes to movies and music, to pay for it, and not download it for free, because we need to support the artists and filmmakers and give our our penny to the project, as they say. But Marc MacNicol, I'd like to thank you once again for coming on the Fishbowl and swimming in the bowl with me. It was great having you on the show.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Definitely let me know whenever the film is ready to be viewed. And
yeah, but the best thing. I mean, the best. If you could do me a massive favour, and anybody listening, if you could just go on to markmacnicol.com. The intro video is on there. Share it on your Facebooks and Twitters, and share it with your contacts. Follow me on Twitter, Marc MacNicol, and on Facebook. The links are on the markmacnicol.com website, and that way, as we go along, when there is news in terms of developments, etc., then your listeners will be kept up to date.
Awesome, sounds great. And I'll tell you what, I'll have my editor put links to your Twitter and Facebook and your website after, as like a hyperlink.
Excellent.
Awesome.